For the third segment in supply and demand, we're actually going to go and put the two of them together. All right, so go ahead and get the next worksheet, the supply and demand graph worksheet, either turn it over or print it out, however you manage to do it. But it's going to look like this. Now, what we have here is we have a table. Now, like most of our graphs in the book, you find out that some of them have tables attached to it. In this one, we got 7 columns in this table. The thing about it is, we only care about the price, the total demand, and the total supply. Sometimes you get tables like this in the textbook, and you go, well, what are these for and what are those for? We don't care. They put them there, it kind of confuses us a little bit. So let's talk about what they actually did. Where do they get total demand and total supply from? Because remember, both of those have something to do with price. Well, they do it like we talked before. They use a survey, right? They do a sampling. What they end up doing is, in our example here, we're going to talk about corn, and we've got $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 of prices. So that's what we got. That's what we're starting with. This first one here, we're looking at how many bushels of corn our buyers would buy. And let's say we've got 200 buyers. Okay. Now we got 200 buyers. This is how much they're going to make at this price. How'd they do that? Well, they didn't ask all 200. Let's say they just asked 10. Right, for our example. They said at $1 a bushel, those 10, how many of you would buy how many bushels would you 10 buy? And it came out to say 80. Right? So those 10 on average would buy 80 bushels a week. So what they did is they went ahead and said, all right, we did a sample of 10, so that would be all 200 would also buy about 80 bushels a week. So it's simple, 80 times 200 is 16,000 bushels of corn. Then they raise it $1. Now remember, we're talking about demand here. Price goes up, demand goes down. So if the price doubles to $2, they're only going to buy 55 bushels. Times 200, 11,000. And so forth. You raise it again, 35, raise it again, 20, raise it again, 5. So all of a sudden at $5 a bushel, we're only going to be selling, or there's only going to be a demand for 2,000 bushels. So that's all we're going to sell. Now the producers on the other side, we'll say we've got 20 producers. So maybe we asked 5 of them. And what we said is, at $1, how many bushels would you buy? Well, remember, this is a real low number. And if the price goes down, the amount supplied goes down. So at a low number, we're not going to be making too much. So they go, well, what if we doubled it to $2? And they go, whoa, well, wait a minute. The 5 we asked on average would would produce 20 or 200 bushels per week. 200 times all 20 of the guys is 4,000 total supply. We raise again to $3. The 5 would buy 350 times 20, 7,000, and so forth. So what we've got is we are now going to go ahead and plot this graph this table on this graph. We're only going to use the price and the total demand and the total supply. So the first thing you need to do is, we'll go ahead and do it this way. First thing you need to do is concentrate on just one or the other. We're only going to look at demand. All right, we're only looking at demand here. So on your graph, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the side here. Okay? You've got total demand right here. So we simply go at $5, and let me make this a little easier here for a second. At $5, so we're looking at 5, we go across. How many bushels are we going to demand? So $5, total demand is 2,000. So we come up this way, boom, there's our first dime. Okay, well let's drop it $1 at $4. So we go $4, We go straight across. $4, it says we're going to only order 4,000. So we go up, boom, there's our second dot. $3, 7,000. $2, we're going to drive it straight across, come straight up, wow, or straight down, whatever, we got 11. And at $1, man, we're going to want 16,000. So here's how we got that graph, just like that. If you have questions with this, go ahead and email me, because this is an important part. This shouldn't have been any trouble because we're taking a look at it from just basic graphing. In this case, though, we're putting two items on one graph. This is the first time we've done it. Connect the dots. We've done that before. Mark it with a D so that you know it's demand. Because if you're not using colors like I'm using, you're going to be using one color for the whole thing. So make sure you mark it with the demand curve. Then we do the same thing for the other side. But we ignore this line, we do this line. We take the price and we take the supply. And if you go ahead and plot it at $1 going straight across, we got 1,000 coming straight up. There's our first dot, and so forth and so forth and so forth and so forth. Put the lines together. Yep, I forgot to put my little S up here, so you might want to put the S for supply. And boom, you actually have X marks the spot. Remember I told you the series of possible prices during a specific period? Well, this is it, okay? Corn does not last 12 whole months. It's a specific period that we will be buying and selling at this price. As a matter of fact, during the corn season, this might change minimum of 3 times, or 2 times. The first time we do this is the first person that brings corn to the market. You're the first one, the first farmer that brings it in. Everybody wants corn because they haven't had it for a few months. Now you're bringing them corn. It's a higher demand. So these prices will be a little bit different. Then we get to the middle of the corn season. Right? Everybody has corn, everybody's producing corn, a lot more competition, the price comes down. Talk more about that later. But as it comes down, the prices again will change. And then at the end of the season, we've got leftover corn. The farmers want to get rid of it because if they can't sell it, it just goes to waste. So they reduce the price even more just to get rid of it. All right, so there's 3 possible series of possible prices during a specific period just for corn. And every product on the market has this series of possible prices. And like in our example with corn, could be multiple during that particular season. All right, so make sure you've got the D and the S on there. Make sure you understand how it came from the table. Up on top, the other side of your worksheet or the other worksheet, you should go ahead and make sure you now understand that this is the series of possible prices during a specific period. Here's the prices. Here's the series. All of these different price things here. And the period is this particular time that we're selling corn. All right? Now, get out the next worksheet that you've got. Now remember, you got these online. So, shortage and surplus worksheet. When we go ahead and take a look at these, we're going to start with this one over here. All right? Now, let's assume we got somebody from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of those big think tanks here on the East Coast, and you bring them in and you go, please help me sell my corn. What price should I sell it for? And this genius economics student or professor comes up and says, well, you should sell it for $4 a bushel. So here's what I want you to do on that worksheet is at the $4 line, I want you to draw it straight across. Some of you may now be taking a look at this saying, we got a little problem here. Because at $4, what is the demand? In other words, what's the demand for $4 a bushel? And we take a look at here, and we come down, and we go, oh, it's only 4,000 bushels. At $4, 4,000 bushels. Now the problem is at $4, the suppliers, the green curve, went ahead and made 10,000 bushels. Oh no. So we went ahead and we have people wanting to buy 4,000 at this price, and we made 10,000. Yeah, that's what it looks like. We're going to get a little bit of money because we made a whole lot of corn. So what do? Well, first off, we know there's a problem. Here's where we call it a surplus. Okay? There's a surplus up there. Where this crosses everything above it, so in this particular example, everything above $3 we call a surplus. In this particular case, after we sell our 4,000 of the 10,000 we made, we have 6,000 left over. So here's what I want you to imagine. Doors over there. That's where the customers come in. Your shelves are over here. Here's your inventory. This is how much corn you have. You open the door at 8 o'clock. People come in. By 10:30, no more customers are coming in. You sold 4,000 bushels of corn. That's how much went out the door. You still have 6,000 bushels right there in inventory. This is a problem, don't you think? So the first thing we do is we fire this person. Then we go, problem, what is it? Well, let me see. We're going to work the problem. The first thing is we identify the problem. And what is it? Not enough customers at the end of the day. Corn left over. Surplus situation. Surplus is bad. Remember, we are looking to efficiently use our resources. So if we made 10,000 and we only sold 4, we got 6,000 left over. Did we efficiently use our resources? Now, we got 6,000 bushels of corn sitting there that may go ahead and just disappear. Meaning, rats will eat it, whatever the heck. We made too much. We wasted all of that money in our production process. I mean the entrepreneur. Bad price we made decisions off of. So, what we end up to resolve the situation is tomorrow morning we're going to get another 10,000 bushels of corn showing up. Well, we only sold 4,000 today. I don't want another 10,000. So the first thing I do is I call them up and I say, I don't want any. So we stop the production. But I still have 6,000 bushels of corn left over, and I only sold 4,000 today. So I stop the production first, and I reduce the price second. Because remember, law of demand, price goes down, what happens to demand? It goes up. So maybe tomorrow I sell that 6,000 bushels of corn. Whew, good. Of course, then I got to figure out, well, how much corn do I bring in on Wednesday? Because now I have no corn, I'm going to have customers walking through the door. So here's where we start looking at that. Now, if we go ahead and start reducing production and then reducing price, we're going to have less inventory and more customers. At a point, we will get right here. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Did anybody tell you to reduce production? Or did you just happen to look over an inventory and you go, 6,000 left over, no customers, lots of money invested in that corn, no customers, no profit. Company folds, I go bankrupt. Or did somebody from the outside say, hey, you need to do this? Now, you as a business owner, real quick go, I don't want any more because I can't sell it. And I have to figure out how to increase my sales. That's lowering the price. You did that. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. This is what we call at this point equilibrium. Every product has an equilibrium point. And that equilibrium point means two things. Equilibrium of price and equilibrium of production or quantity. The idea being, at one price, everything we make will be sold and I'll have no customers left over. So think about it. At the end of the day, all your customers are happy because they got the corn they wanted at that price. At the end of the day, you sold everything you made. Were you efficient? You should be going, yes, I sure was, because there's no customers with money screaming they want corn. They're all satisfied. And your customers bought everything that you had produced. So this is what we mean by equilibrium of price and quantity. At a certain price, everything you make will be sold. That's what we're looking at, equilibrium. But we still have a pricing problem. We know that $4 doesn't work. So what do? We didn't learn. So now we're going to look on the other side of that sheet. We hire somebody from the other side of America. We go ahead and hire somebody from Stanford. You know, another big economics egghead, and they come out and go, I don't know what that person in Massachusetts told you, but you should be selling for $2 a bushel. So take your little pen there and $2 and run it straight across. And we go, what is demand at $2 a bushel? Ooh, I'm going to look right there because that's where the demand curve crosses the price curve. And I go, 11,000. I just go right down here and there it is. I go, but at $2 a bushel, I'm only going to make 4,000 bushels. So do we have a problem with $2? You should be going, absolutely, because we're nowhere near that X, are we? Okay? Yes, we do, because we got lots of people with money and a little bit of corn to sell them. Now think about this. You go to a store to buy something and the shelves are empty. And you come back the next day and the shelves are empty. And you come back the next day and the shelves are empty. What are you going to do? Well, sooner or later you get it in your head that that store isn't providing you what you need, and you're going to go to a competitor. You don't want this to happen. So we have the same situation, but in the opposite direction. We have what's called a shortage. Anything underneath where they cross is the shortage area, right? And of course, yes, we fire this person, but we still have to work the problem. What's the problem? Well, we should get it. Too many customers, not enough merchandise at that price. So the first thing we do in here isn't what we did last time. First thing we do here is we increase the price. Because what happened if this just happened to be some week where the colleges were having some kind of a fraternity prank? And it had something to do with corn. Okay? We're not going to go into what, why, how, or anything else, but it had something to do with corn. So we had more customers than usual come to get the corn. Okay? Next week, the rush is over, and all of a sudden it's back to the levels that we had seen before. In other words, $2 would have been a good price. But in this case, what we're looking at is we're going, well, the next day we still have more customers. Now remember, we're business people. We're looking at it with the hat of the business person on. And in this particular case, we're going to say, well, I don't want to hire more people and increase production unless I know there actually is a demand. So what I'll do is I'll raise the price a little bit. And let's say the first day I went ahead and raised it, and at 10:30 it was all gone and I had people at doors screaming with money. I raised the price a little bit on Tuesday. It's noon before my inventory's gone, but I still have people there raising money. So on Tuesday, I raised the price. I still got people wanting to give me more money. Wednesday, I raised the price again. People are still there. Maybe it's 1 o'clock now. But I'm looking at this and going, maybe I actually should now start raising production because I still have people wanting to give me money and I can't take it. So instead of having them go to my competitor, now I'll start increasing production, which might mean hiring more people. Okay? So I increase the price first, see if it actually is a real increase in demand, And then I'll increase production. Again, driving this up to where they cross, right? Getting rid of the shortage, and again, did anybody tell you to do this? No, you looked at inventory, you looked at people with money. So again, common sense, right? And again, we come up to the equilibrium of price and quantity. So, your sheet should look like this. Drop production, drop price, raise production. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. At the end of the day, what you want to be able to do is there's no inventory left, our inventory is empty, and there's no customers left at the door saying we want it and showing us money. Everything you make is sold at a certain price, that's equilibrium. This is also the concept of what we call the invisible hand. Because nobody told you to do it, but you saw what was going on in the market being your business. You saw inventory, you saw customers with money. In this particular case, when we had a shortage, you had more customers with money, so the invisible hand told you, through common sense, to raise price and sooner or later raise production. So you literally pushed the shortage up to the equilibrium point. Same thing we did with the surplus. The invisible hand pushed the price and the production down till it got to the equilibrium point. So here is what we're looking at when we talk about surplus and shortage. Invisible hand is a very important concept with this, especially when we start getting into capitalism and socialism, or the market and the command system. So remember how this works, and remember how the invisible hand works. We are efficiently, remember that's why we study economics, efficiently using our limited resources, which is why we have economics. Remember, we have that economic problem because we want to meet the unlimited wants of everybody, which we never will. But we will be able to meet the majority if we allow the invisible hand concept to work and we get rid of surpluses and shortages. This is why we're here. This is what we're studying. Macro or micro, this is what you need to remember. For macroeconomics, 3 groups set up the environment to find out if we're efficiently using our limited resources to meet the unlimited wants. The government, in other words, Congress and the President, and the Federal Reserve, which we go into later. So, your sheet on the front side, you may also want it to look something like this. All right? But I would go ahead and keep those 3 sheets, remembering that this is going to go ahead and be with you for the rest of your career if you're looking to go into business. Understanding these concepts right here. You don't have to have a fancy computer network to decide where your equilibrium point is. You just have to look at your inventory and look at your customers. It really is as easy as that. All the fancy stuff and everything else starts there. And then what they do is they'll have fancy things added to it. Like if it gets to a certain level, they'll order more stuff. If it gets a certain level, they'll order less stuff. They know how much stuff is moving through because as you scan it, it clicks all of this stuff all over the place. But in reality, all you need to know is those 2 things, and are you at your equilibrium point? And your invisible hand is what's based on all of that, making that happen. All right, let me see. So, that's the end of the equilibrium and the invisible hand section. We've got one more because we're going to talk about what happens when the invisible hand is not allowed to work.